What is up? It's Isaac of the Dead back with another video. This video is going to go as long as it's going to take, right? It's going to take as long as it needs to get the point across, because this is the Rings of Power season finale. I'm here to do my review on it and, explain what happens. I've been spending most of my weekend, fighting off shills with one hand behind my back and, kneecapped, basically. All these Amazon shills, man. All they want to do is throw shade at somebody for not liking something instead of seeing it as subjective. Some of them do. Some of them see it as subjective. Most of them will take personal attacks and throw them at you because they're hurt. They're just hurt people who just want to go out there and hurt others. But hey, let's get down to business. Rings of Power Season 2 finale. We start off with the Balrog. So Durin the Fourth is telling his father, hey, please, for the love of God, stop fucking with the Khazad-dûm. Stop fucking with the cave. And he exposes the cave, says, all the mithril. Look at all the mithril. And then the Balrog shows up for cameo appearances. Have to pay those royalties to license out to Warner Brothers. And so they find out that the Balrog is a threat. LOL. And then during that whole sequence, Durin, this is why you don't have two Durins, bro. Durin the Third is stubborn, and he's like, here's a compliment for you. I love the father-son relationship between Durin Third and Durin Fourth, right? I like the little sob story that Durin told about arm wrestling his father and how he let him win or let him lose or whatever, and so it was about learning to gain strength. I like that. Unfortunately, it means nothing because he was being a dick to his son the whole time. And so he takes off the ring, gives it to his son, and he's like, please, go be a strong king for our people. And so right before the Balrog with its whip, goes whoosh, whoosh, and whips Durin the Third, to which he picks up his axe and he rides an invisible horse because he jumps and his legs spread out and he looks like he's riding an invisible horse on a green screen. And he chops off the horn of the Balrog. And in isolation, I was like, oh, that was kind of cool. Then my analytical brain was telling me, wait a minute. That doesn't change anything. The Balrog should just go, nope. Just eat him up. Just eat him up out of thin air. And so, basically, Durin the Third dies, sacrificing himself for Khazad-dûm. But really, he doesn't sacrifice himself because the Balrog just kind of fucks off. Like, the Balrog never shows up again. He's never even mentioned again. I think the Balrog just fucked off. Like, that must have done it. Realistically, it wouldn't have, but it did. Because nobody ever mentions it again. Not in this episode. They didn't say, oh, our biggest problem is the Balrog. No. Motherfucker's just gone. He's just gone. In fact, when Durin the Fourth becomes the new king of Khazad-dûm, the only concern that he has is mentioned by Disa, which is that other people in his kingdom are looking at the empty throne and looking for succession, basically. So his biggest threat right now is a war of succession with his brothers and other people who lay claim to the throne. Instead of, oh, I don't know, the fucking Balrog at the belly of your kingdom. So it's so weird to realize that he sent his own people to help Eregion, only to find out that there's a Balrog in his place and does nothing about it. So, yeah, obviously the relationship between Durin the Fourth and Elrond gets gayer by the day. I do not regret saying that at all. It is gay. It's super gay. The more they talk, the more gay it gets. And so, yeah. I guess Durin the Fourth is now the king of Khazad-dûm. That's where that storyline ends. We will move on now to the Stranger, who is obviously Meth Head Gandalf. And they even tease that he's Gandalf by calling him Grand Elf. Or even having a Gan. He has a stick called the Gan. We could just call him Dangalf. Dangalf, the crackhead wizard, Hunter Biden looking motherfucker. So, yeah, he's going back to the Stores Canyon, or the Stools. We'll just call them Stools, because they look like shit. And so, it's pretty evident here that he abandoned his mission to pick his staff to go save his friends. But he was always supposed to do that because that was his mission anyway, as a trick question. Yay, themes. But the Dark Wizard, who is obviously Saruman, the fact that anybody is even debating that he couldn't be Saruman is stupid. And so Saruman goes there, and the steampunk Easterlings hold Nori Brandy Tits and Poppy Fat Fuck at knife point. And this is what Dangalf saw in his vision of what was threatening those Harfoots. And he ends up trying to negotiate with Saruman, the Dark Wizard. And the Dark Wizard ends up saying, please release these Harfoots, you dirty Easterlings. And the Easterlings, I shit you not, they're probably played by white dudes, but hey, who am I to say that changing the lore is a bad thing, right? Making the characters, the Easterlings, who are actually of darker skin tone, white men, is fucking hilarious. But we never actually see them under the mask, just the actors are probably white. Who knows? But the funniest thing about the steampunk Easterlings in this particular scene is they turn over to the Dark Wizard and they're like, our people used to be kings in this land. We was kings! We was kings! The Easterlings went, we was kings! They literally did it before Saruman bitch slapped them into another dimension or something. And then he tries to blackmail Dangalf into joining him to fight Sauron. And then has a particular moment where he shows Dangalf how evil things will get if he doesn't join him to defeat Sauron before fucking off. Okay. And so that's the end of the Dark Wizard. He just kind of fucks off back to where he was. If this is not supposed to be Saruman, then who is it? And if it is supposed to be Saruman, you know that he wasn't always evil, right? He wasn't always a dick. The point of him turning in Fellowship was supposed to be a big surprise because he was blackpilling. He was blackpilling for Sauron. The fact that he would even try to align with the Easterlings or try to tease at it here seems like it's misunderstanding the point of that. So, who am I? Show me, lore masters, that you are now all experts on, down in the comments below why I'm wrong. Fucking shills. So anyway, Nori's fucking around with a giant branch that's uneven. Looks like somebody with ED made that thing. And so Dangalf picks it up and he's like, oh, I think this is going to be my staff. And he proceeds to smoke crack out of it. No, I'm just kidding. He doesn't do that. But it's funny if he did. He says goodbye to Nori, who kind of goes off with the rest of the stools after their canyon got fucked by the Dark Wizard. And I guess it's supposed to be a goodbye moment. But really, they're probably just going to go found the Shire because we got to have the women do the stuff to give agency to demands. Nobody asked for this shit. Nobody asked for this show. How is it that Dangalf can't get his staff on his own? He has to get it from the suggestion pulled from Nori, or even Nori, founding the Shire. But it's not confirmed yet. Probably will be. Anyway, the Stores follow in Sadik Burrows' footsteps and just go on the psychopath trail of leaving people who fall behind to their deaths. Dangalf goes back to Tom Bombadil. Tom Bombadil says, oh, you passed your journey. And then they sing songs, merry old songs about smoking crack and ruining lore. Simon would be proud. I'm sure Simon would be proud. Anyway, so we're on to the next thing, which let's talk about Isildur. So I may have forgot to mention in previous reviews that Isildur has been cucked so hard. He finds this girl who is a Southlander, falls in love with her, finds out her husband is alive, comes to meet with her, and he gets cucked right there. So in this episode, Theo, remember Dora from season 1? Well, he comes by and we have two kids, Theo and Isildur, or I call him Isildur. Theo and Isildur talking about how it's their fault that their mothers are dead. That's real comforting conversation right there. I kind of wish that both of them would just kind of go away. At least Theo. And Seldor is such a mockery of Isildur. It's embarrassing. It really is embarrassing that a character that actually matters in this story or in this particular timeline gets reduced to such laughable standards. So he's at, I believe the place, isn't that Palantia? It's based on, it was a state or village established by Muriel in alliance with her. Isildur goes there. He's, fucking around in his shack. And the Southlander girl breaks in and she's like, I don't love my husband no more. He's kind of a dickhead. And he built me a house, but I didn't feel like it was worth my time, so I just kind of left him. And then they make out right there. And Seldor is like, let's go back to my home. Let's go back to Numenor together. And as they're trying to go back, Simon, everybody calls him Kimmin. I'm surprised anybody even knew his name. I just call him Evil White Man. Evil White Man, or Simon, shows up and he's like, hey, my father's the new king of Numenor, so now all of you have to bow to him, subjects. And then he finds out that Isildur is alive. While this is happening, Southlander girl's husband shows up and he's like, you're not going to cuck me now, and grabs her arm and holds her hostage, basically. So then Isildur is like, you don't have rights to this land, to Simon. And Simon's white privilege gets the better of him. Obviously, Evil White Man does Evil White Man things. And he's like, you will now be our new village place thing that we're going to have because we're in control now. Okay. And then Isildur sails on ship back to Numenor at the end. Meanwhile, in Numenor, our Pharazôn, Trump Pharazôn as I will call him, Trump Pharazôn, the Jack Murphy looking dude, he goes and he finds the Palantir that Muriel was using, places his hand on it, sees Halbrand. Even our Pharazôn can figure out that Halbrand is Sauron, but just by fucking looking at him. It was obvious. Anyway, he figures out that this image of Halbrand, who is Sauron, he comes to the conclusion that Muriel was under the influence of Halbrand, aka Sauron, and then therefore leading Numenor to its doom. So he gathers up the faithful, all the people loyal to Muriel, and he prosecutes them as traitors, going around arresting people. And Earache, who is the made-up character that is Elendil's daughter, is surprised by this. You backed a dictator who believed that an eagle was there to make him king, and you're surprised that he became a dictator. LOL. So she tries to go help her father Elendil escape, which he does, and he goes to find Muriel. So Earache is just kind of annoying, deflecting dumb guards from Numenor, and our Pharazôn proclaims like martial law or something like that. I don't know. And so, Elendil then sneaks off to find Muriel. And he's like, we have to stand up against this. And Muriel's like, no, I'm going to turn myself in. But you go. You take this gift I'm going to give you, and you go off and you do the thing that you're going to do to save us. We got to be saved. Anyway, she hands him Narsil. Narsil has not made any appearances in this show. Maybe once in season 1, but it was debatable, right? More like a cameo. So Muriel's just like, hey, here's Narsil. Take it. And it's a literal reenactment. It's yum yum member berries, come and get your member berries. It's a reenactment of the Elrond Aragorn scene from Return of the King. You know what made that scene good? You know what people liked about that scene? Was Aragorn was finally accepting his role as a leader, as a king, as the descendant of Numenorians. It was him taking up masculine roles, basically. I guess, for lack of a better term, masculine being obviously kingship, right? And so that's what that scene was about. This scene has no meaning. It has no meaning. Muriel talking to Elendil has zero meaning other than, oh, you're taking up the responsibility of running away. So he runs away. while Muriel turns herself in. It's not a powerful scene. It's just member berries. It's just remember, Return of the King, remember. That's what they do. They draw these member berries. They like to have these repurposed dialogues from better films. Of course, the films they have to be shit on in order to justify this show. It's hilarious how all the shills do that. They're like, well, why didn't you dislike the problems with the Peter Jackson trilogy? Not relevant. I'm not judging Rings of Power off of Peter Jackson's trilogy. See the difference? Anyway, so Lindell fucks off, and Muriel gets arrested. That's where that story ends. So then we're back in Eregion. The siege is still happening. Celebrimbor, who has been assassinated through and through. It's kind of embarrassing to watch him go from a badass to a grandma. And so Sauron, Aniltar, is shooting arrows into him repeatedly over a course of several hours, obviously torturing him, trying to find out where the 9 rings are that he left with Galadriel. So, if you remember in the last episode, which you probably didn't if you didn't watch it, or you just didn't watch this review or whatever, Celebrimbor gives Galadriel the 9 rings to run away, go as far away from Eregion as possible. He's like, hey, take these rings. We can't let Sauron get these while I confront him. So, while Celebrimbor confronts Sauron, Galadriel's whole mission is to go as far away as possible from Eregion to hide the rings, basically. So what does this dumb bitch do? She stays in Eregion, and we have to see her protecting a whole group of women. Just women and girls, all of which are taller than Morfydd Clark, being, a measly 4'8". So she's slaying orcs, protecting all these women. Oh, box has been checked. Anyway, she's still in Eregion, and she gets captured by the orcs, and she says, hey, don't hurt the women. Don't hurt the women. I'll come with you. I'll meet your leader if you don't hurt the women. And so she just goes with the orcs. The women are safe, I guess. And she goes with the orcs to meet Adar. Meanwhile, Aniltar, he tortures and eventually kills Celebrimbor by impaling him, which I'm sure Celebrimbor is really used to getting, shoved like that, or what's it called? Stuck. Gay double entendres I'm trying to make here, all right? Getting him stuck up like that, Anyway, so his death was kind of cool in isolation, but it was pretty obviously faked with strings. You can even tell. So Sauron kills his ass, and as he's dying, he goes, you were enslaved by the rings. You will forever be the Lord of the Rings. So all the people who were shilling for the show can cry their eyes out. They said the thing. They said the thing. It's the Lord of the Rings. They said the thing. Because that's what this show is really about. It's those kind of people watching this show. That's what they really want. That's the audience they want to attract. Of course, Sauron cries like a bitch because he feels bad that he killed his gay lover. I don't know why he would feel bad. He's supposed to be evil. What happened? What happened? So all the orcs come in, even that one orc who has a family. He has a family. He has a little baby orc. He comes in, and he's like, you must be him. And he's like, no shit. No shit, I'm him. What did you think I was? And so even everybody from season 1, no, it's me, dog. So anyway, shit. I lost my train of thought there. This video is going way long. So, Sauron asks the orcs, to swear fealty to him. So we go back to Galadriel, and Galadriel is meeting Adar. Anyway, Lost my train of thought again. Shit. This video is going way too long. And I'm over here losing my train of thought watching this shit. You know, this is what happens when you watch dog shit. Your brain starts to melt. I've said this in plenty of other videos before. And I don't have time to edit this stuff. So I just jump on here and make discussions. You're welcome to a roast. If you feel like it, I am totally okay with that. So, Galadriel meets with Adar in the forest nearby Eregion, which theoretically you could have taken, if this is the forest behind Eregion, you could have taken your army behind there and just swarmed over Eregion. Who needs battle tactics, you know, when you already destroyed Eregion? So we see that Adar has been using Ninja business, Galadriel's ring, to de-age himself, to heal himself. And he looks like a regular ass elf. Of course, it all looks like CGI deepfakes, but, you know, we get the point. So he wants to defeat Sauron so he could be the promised father of the orcs. That's all he wants. He just wants to be a daddy. He just wants to be daddy of the orcs. He's a good guy, don't you know? But Sauron's also a good guy because he got betrayed by Adar. Nobody here is a bad guy, you know? It's all morally gray, guys. You know, Tolkien was morally gray. Fucking losers. Why are we making the orcs the good guys here? They're not supposed to be good guys. Adar is not a good guy. He murdered people. He attacked an entire city. Sauron gaslights people. He tortures people. These are not good people. So the orcs show up and they're like, Lord Father, we have Sauron right here. And or actually they don't have Sauron. They had the orc. I thought it was going to be a bait and switch like that. But it ended up just being the regular orc. He's like, oh, Sauron injured me. Oh, and then he ends up stabbing Adar, and they all Julius Caesar him like Sauron got Julius Caesared in the first episode. It's like poetry. It rhymes. Sauron shows up and takes Morgoth's pinky ring, or I would like to call it a toe ring or a cock ring, whichever one, because it's hard to believe that that's his crown. You know, being how big Morgoth really was. And he starts fighting Galadriel while the orcs go back to Eregion and keep sacking the place. So Sauron and Galadriel have a sword fight that looks like the place where Aragorn was in Fellowship. More member berries. That whole sequence shows Sauron shapeshifting to fuck with Galadriel and say how wrong she was and, you know, oh, you're just evil, blah, 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 blah. He transforms into Halbrand. How she recognizes him as Halbrand without his beard, I have no idea because I barely recognized him. He changes into Celebrimbor to fuck with her. He changes into Galadriel. It's like, bro, if you wanted to be Galadriel so bad, you could have just transformed into her. If you wanted to be with her, why didn't you just transform into her? He keeps saying, I would have made you the Queen of Middle-earth. You know, Galadriel, you know, she came to Middle-earth. I have a good, reliable source friend to tell me about this. She came to Middle-earth to rule Middle-earth, and she caused a rebellion against Feanor. I could be wrong about small details there. But essentially, you could make an argument that she was fighting in battles at least once or twice, but she realized that, you know, fighting in these battles is against the Valar, right? It's against the Valar or whatever. And so, therefore, she didn't do it anymore. She put down her sword. They're probably going to end up doing that later on down the line with this series. And then say, oh, she's always been like this. It's like, bro, we know you're full of shit. But essentially what it comes down to is there was no romantic, you know, partnership between Galadriel and Sauron. This is all made up fanfic bullshit. Just meant to appease the shippers out there. The people who don't care about Tolkien, they care about identity or shipping, basically. And so Sauron ends up stabbing her with Morgoth's cock ring. And I'm like, yes, finally, kill her, break canon officially, and killed his bitch. And I'm talking about the character, not the actress, the character. Make that distinction. I'm talking about the character, all right? I don't give a fuck if Morphy Clark, you know, is in the show. Like, I don't care, you know? It's, people are taking that way too seriously. Oh, you hate the character, therefore you hate the actor. Bro, grow up. So, she ends up suffering a harmful wound falling on her face, And Sauron's like, please give me your rings. And she's like, nah. And then she falls off a cliff. She says, whoa. And she falls off a cliff. And it's supposed to be meant like, Gandalf, falling off the cliff in Khazad-dûm when he fights the Balrog. It's supposed to be this heroic sacrifice. A lot of arguments online are being, trees broke her fall. Trees broke her fall because gravity is just optional. Now, if I had known gravity was optional, I'd probably be taking more skydiving skills, skydiving lessons or whatnot. So she falls off. She doesn't splatter into spaghetti meat. She just kind of daintily falls to the ground. But we're going to come back to that because that loops around back to another plot point. Now let's talk about Elrond. So Elrond, being the fucking idiot that he is with Gil-galad, and they're being captured by the orcs as all of Celebrimbor's writings are being burned. Guess what? Oh, and also the statue in Eregion is being torn down. That's what I was about to say. Was guess what? This reminds me a lot about 2020 with all the orc protesters, mostly peaceful protesters in Middle Earth, tearing down statues and burning books and whatnot. Sounds kind of familiar to me. The mostly peaceful protests of 2020. Comparing them to orcs, that's kind of racist, don't you think? Do better, Amazon. Do better. A wild Erandir appears. How is this man alive? We saw him get stabbed. People are like, well, we didn't actually see him die. What is this, The Walking Dead? What is this, Game of Thrones? Motherfucker, you get stabbed, you die. I know that elves are supposed to be resilient, but they're not invincible. Theoretically, he could have lived through that. He could have survived that. But the fact that he's not even mentioned to have any wounds, I don't even think there's a mark on his armor where he got stabbed. There's no mention of him dying or coming back up. There's no mention of him healing. It feels like the showrunners wanted to kill him off, but then decided, nah, he's an elf of color, so therefore we have to keep him alive. So they kept him alive and said nothing. They said nothing about him. It's so weird, and so many people are calling it out for what it is. Bad writing. Bad writing. So, we didn't see him die. Motherfucker, he got stabbed. The implication is that he was dead because he fallen on his face. This show is stupid. It really is. The show is stupid. Any common sense person would see that. And so, Arandir is with them, Don Lemonless. And they fight off the orcs, and I can't audibly remember what happens between there and when they find Galadriel falling off the building. Oh yeah, the dwarves show up to help them, and whenever Elrond was like, Durin will come, I'm gonna come. And so the dwarves show up to help him out. A lot of them are probably gonna die. Yeah. So anyway, Galadriel falls off a cliff. Elrond, Arandir, and Gil-galad go over there to force heal her. Use the rings to bring her back to life. And so finally, I think Elrond concedes to the idea of using the rings for good. They go and travel to a new land, even though they're all homeless. They just lost Eregion. Sauron is on the move, destroying shit. He has the orcs at his back now. Adar is dead. All the elves have a hype-up speech, even though they are not in good footing. There's very little of them left. Not in good footing. They're really banking on this season 3 being a thing. You know what? Bring on season 3. I want to make more reviews. I want to roast more fucking shills. But if not, just cancel it, and I'll still make videos about that too, and just cherish the fake nerd tears that come out of that. And so, whenever Galadriel wakes up from her coma, they're all like, what do you want us to do, Commander? When Gil-galad, their High King, is sitting right there. Arandir is alive too. He's just alive. And so, effectively, Galadriel, Gil-galad, or people call him Gil-gadaddy, Arandir, Don Lemonless, and Doogie Gay Elrond become the new leaders of the elves. How and why Arondir is becoming a leader, even though he's not like in the royalty of that, I have no idea. But I guess we just got to put him in there because people like him or whatever. I'm indifferent towards him. I mean, other than the actor, throwing shit at the fans, I'm just indifferent. And so, yeah, that's how the episode ends for the elves. And yeah, most of everything else is just set up for season 3. I'm sure I'm missing something. Oh yeah, Dangolf finally realizes that his name is Gandalf, as if it wasn't fucking obvious. As if it wasn't obvious. Did I mention that already? Yeah, he names himself Gandalf. So yeah, now we can finally affirm that he is Gandalf. Why is it such a fucking surprise to these idiots? So that's how season 2 ends. We can only hope that season 3 is worth monetization and loses half its audience like this season did. You look at the Samba TV numbers. The Samba TV number shows for season 1 it was 1.8 million viewers on the first season, and then nearly 900,000 viewers in the second season. Their audience got split in half. It's not even debatable. Some people are trying to be like, oh, some shows teeter off, the normies left, all that. No, they lost half their audience, son. It's over. They got roasted. You can use whatever misinterpreted quote from Tolkien that you want to defend this show. You can use whatever identity politics method you want to defend this show. You can throw all sorts of names out the book, out the window to throw at people who don't like this show. At the end of the day, the show is a massive billion-dollar failure. It's a failure. It's disrespectful to Tolkien. It's disrespectful to the fans. It's disrespectful to anybody who watches it. It's disrespectful to me for wasting my fucking time. But I do enjoy making these videos, so don't you worry. And it's an affront to common sense. It's an insult to fantasy, essentially. It's just dumb. It's money grubbing dumb. Oh, I totally forgot to mention the horses that died. Horses. We saw many horses die on screen this season, which is, honestly, I'm surprised PETA isn't calling them up because... I'm surprised PETA isn't calling them up because real horses died on the set filming this fucking season. Real horses died. This show is cursed. This show is cursed. And they killed off like 4 or 5 horses in this season on screen. I was laughing my ass off at that shit. I love how the conservative or the conservationist message of Amazon being, oh, we're being respectful to Tolkien. Oh, while Amazon, mows down a forest to build up a warehouse. So, yeah, finally we are done with season 2. It is over. I am so happy I finally got through it. But the shills are still mad, and they're going to be mad. They can't just accept this for what it is and enjoy it. They have to defend it. They have to have the Tolkien purists or even the people who don't like the show agree with them on everything. That's what it comes down to. When you engage with these shills, as I have over the past couple days, typically their tactics are asking you questions to bait you into saying something that they can roast or that they don't agree with to try and pull a gotcha. They act in bad faith, and typically when you answer respectfully in good faith, they just like to shit on you. And, it's okay to have a disagreement, but unless it's civil, it's just in bad faith. And usually they act out of pocket with rage and hate. So the best thing you can do is just troll them. Best thing you can do is just troll them. Usually they don't know what they're talking about. They misinterpret things. They like to twist the narratives. They like to build a boogeyman out of the people they don't like so that they can fight that boogeyman and feel justified in their position. That is the kind of people we are talking about. That is the kind of audience that, the modern audience, that Rings of Power attracts. So, beware of shills. They are out there. So, did you like what you heard? Please comment down below. Did I miss anything? Am I being lore accurate? Is the show being lore accurate? Is any of this even worth a shit anymore? Does anybody care? The algorithm for it is dead, basically, on YouTube. But, hey... that's just been this episode of Disc of the Dead. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Best of all, don't smoke crack like a shill. Y'all have a good day. Let's see if season 3 is worth a shit. I will see y'all in the next video. Y'all take care. Be good people.